I have not attached my value to these goals. It's really more of what's the impact that I want to make and what is real for me that I can do and achieve without sacrificing my well-being and my non-negotiables, the things that are really important to me. Now, goals are really important because they set you in a direction. And if you do not attach your value to your goals, your worthiness to your goals, they can help you very well measure what worked, like what was it that you had a good handle on and that you want to make sure you do more of next time? And what did you learn from it? Where did you fall short? What do you need to learn? What skills might you need to invest in? What do you need to refine or get over or get through in order to do better? Hey, you leader, entrepreneur, business owner, solopreneur, whatever you call yourself, we know you're a visionary business builder, wealth seeker looking to combine a passion for doing good with leading consciously. It's time to shift from a traditional focus of pure wealth accumulation to one that integrates well-being and fulfillment. This is the Conscious Edge podcast, and I'm Alecia St. Germain, entrepreneur and coach. Along with my friend and wellness advocate, Jonathan Duggar, we're diving into what it means to embody radical self-acceptance while still evolving to lead with compassion and kindness. We're sharing our own experiences and expertise as we unpack imposter syndrome, perfectionism, procrastination, and all the other things that lead to burnout and keep you from experiencing pure joy, business growth, and maximum impact. This is a safe and supportive space to explore what it means to be a human creating wealth and building a business. You're here for a purpose, and it's time to shine your light. So here we go. Okay, so I'm flying solo today, and I thought it would be a great opportunity to share with you a little bit about some of the unhealthy goal habits I commonly see when I'm working with clients that end up leading to burnout, playing small, not achieving what you really are out there to achieve in the world, and are affecting your joy and fulfillment that you experience in life. So when I started this coaching business several years ago, one of the things that became glaringly obvious to me was that there are some unhealthy goal habits that I had. And so I used to set my goals. I didn't realize this at the time, but I used to set my goals based on what I thought made me good or would make other people in my life happy. And one of them being my coach, the coach that I had hired to help me learn how to market and build this business and get more clients. And so I found that I really wanted to play at a high level with my peers, that I wanted to be, if you will, as good as them. And at the same time, I actually had decided to not continue to actively invest in real estate. And I was going to build this coaching practice while I had children that were below elementary age. So I think my son was 7 months when I started and I was still nursing, and my daughter was around 3. One of the things that was really important to me in my life was I really, really wanted to be a present mom. I wanted to be with my kids. It was just something that was part of what I wanted for my life. And it doesn't make anybody who's working and you have children or anything like that, it doesn't make you wrong if you're doing it differently than I wanted. I just knew what my vision for my life was. And so I started this coaching program to help me build this business. And I realized at the time I was setting goals based on what I thought my coach expected of me, based on what I thought would make me good. And so it was that perfectionist, like that all or nothing mindset. If I achieve my goals, then I'm good. If I don't achieve my goals, then I'm bad, right? So there's a lot of a big worthiness conversation that was happening there that I can look back and see in hindsight. And so one of the things that was happening for me was I set these goals and then I would turn myself inside out and sacrifice my health, my sleep, my needs. And I was not showing up the best that I wanted, like the way I wanted to for my children, because I would be with them, but I would be thinking about work, or I'd be having anxiousness like, oh, I should be getting that done. And so I was never 100% really present with them. And then when I got to the end of trying to achieve that goal, I'd be starting to run out of time, right? Because our goals have time. We try to put timelines on them. And I would get to the end and I would be like, I've got to work. I can't be with the kids. And so my husband would be with the kids and they just were not getting the best of me. And then on top of it, I still wasn't hitting the goal. And it really hurt my heart. It hurt my self-esteem to be giving up this time with my family and sacrificing myself. I'm exhausted, right? I've got 2 little ones and I'm not sleeping, not only because of being a mom, but also because of what was going on in the business. And then I didn't hit my goal. And it really rocked me and started to make me feel really bad about myself. And so maybe you can relate to some of that. And I got to a point where I just wasn't willing to put myself through that anymore. And so then I started not setting any goals at all. And I just spent probably about a year kind of just, I'm taking action, I'm doing the thing, but I'm not putting any pressure on myself. And really what that came down to is my nervous system just needed some time to heal and to come back to homeostasis, come back to like center so that I could then figure some things out. And here's what I learned. Number one, when it comes to our goals, achieving a goal does not make you good, and not achieving a goal does not make you bad. And I know that to some extent in the way that we're taught in schools, and this is nothing on school teachers or anything like that. I think they're amazing people, but it's curriculums maybe that are put in place that there is one right answer. And if you get it, you're good. And if you don't get it, you're not good. And I already start to see some of that stuff coming home with my kids that I really work with them on to attach their value to the effort that they're putting in. And are they being their best? Are they showing up as good humans versus did they get a right answer? And so that's where that perfectionist piece, that perfection comes in, is like, if we get it, we're good. If we don't, we're not. And so what I realized was I was not telling my coach what I wanted my life to look like. What were my non-negotiables? I was so focused on hitting the business goals so that I would be good enough that I wasn't giving her an opportunity to coach me in a way that was actually in alignment with my own vision and what I wanted for myself. And maybe she had higher or different expectations of me or what I was capable of. But what I really needed from her was to tell me and coach me on how to do that without sacrificing my body and my family. And so I struggled for a little time on that. And instead, what I have learned to do is set my goals, number one, in a way that they are achievable, that I have not attached my value to these goals. It's really more of what's the impact that I want to make and what is real for me that I can do and achieve without sacrificing my well-being and my non-negotiables, the things that are really important to me. Now, goals are really important because they set you in a direction. And if you do not attach your value to your goals, your worthiness to your goals, they can help you very well measure what worked, like what was it that you had a good handle on and that you want to make sure you do more of next time? And what did you learn from it? Where did you fall short? What do you need to learn? What skills might you need to invest in? What do you need to refine or get over or get through in order to do better. And when we can approach our goals from that perspective, it can be very valuable to keep improving along the way. Now, I've run summits as part of what I do in marketing and being able to provide really great content and value to people. And then from there, be able to build that relationship with people. And I really enjoy doing it. But when I first started building summits, it was very taxing. And one of my goals was I was going to run summits enough times that it no longer burned on my body and my family. And I can honestly say now I finally hit a point where that's true. I've hit that goal and it feels amazing to have figured out those things. But one of the things I wanted to get into today and help you maybe get underneath why you have some unhealthy goal habits is to share with you the 4 most common. I've really bucketed unhealthy goal habits into really 4 subsets. And I thought I would go through them with you. And I've been 3 of these 4 people at different times. I've had these unhealthy goal habits in my life, 3 of these buckets out of the 4. So I'm very intimately familiar with them. And then the 4th bucket is something that I see happening for people that I also wanted to address, because my goal here is always to give you the truth that I'm seeing as the coach, not that there aren't many versions of the truth, because there absolutely are. And I can definitely see that. But I'm known for giving people those loving, hard truths, that the things that they need to hear to get to their visions and to get what they want out of life. And I really do my best to do it in a way where you can literally feel that I care about you and I want you to achieve what it is that you want to achieve. I don't want to see you hold yourself back. And I can see you in your highest level, like in your highest light and like what you're capable of. And then it's just a matter of whether or not you want to take those steps to do that. Or if it's not what you want, then that's okay too. There's no judgment. So the first of the 4 unhealthy goal habits that I often see are when people set goals and then they achieve them at all costs. So I talked about that a little bit earlier, right, in my experience. And so one of the things that goes with this is this person who sets their goals and achieves them at all costs, they will sacrifice their personal needs and relationships at the expense, and sometimes both, at the cost, right, of it. They'll achieve the goals. So they will put their own needs aside. They will get snippy with their family, and they will feel guilty about it. They will feel bad about it later on, and they will feel resentful that they aren't feeling like their body's being taken care of as well. But it's like they need to hit that goal. And so what happens is they don't often take time off to enjoy the other parts of life. So it really steals this kind of habit when it comes to your goals. It steals your joy and experiences in life, having a very rich and very full life, because you're singularly focused on your business, singularly focused on what you do for money and making sure you hit those goals. And so underneath this is this feeling of always needing to do more or not having enough. And because of that, because there's this like, oh, I need to do more, I need to do more. It's like this hamster wheel. Even if you do take time off, you can't stop thinking about work, because the fear that drives this behavior oftentimes is a fear of failure or losing it all, or sometimes both, right? And so it's like, I have to keep working. I have to keep doing more or I'm going to lose it all. So getting underneath the reason why we do behaviors is so important for transforming the behavior. And so if this sounds like you, then there's some reflection you can do, because oftentimes these people have good businesses. They are making money. They are generally, by many standards, they're like, I know I have enough. I know I'm okay. Like I can pay my bills. I even have the money to go on vacation, or I have the money to do things, but I don't do it because I'm afraid I'm going to lose it. At any point, the rug can be swept out from underneath me. And so their burnout comes from that constant cycle of worrying about money and losing it all and not being ever able to relax or get out of the fight mode that they're in. And that constant cortisol release that happens. The second unhealthy goal habit that I sometimes see is the setting the goal based on perceived or real expectations outside of yourself. That's the one where I was talking about. I set my goal based on what I thought my coach would make my coach happy, would make her notice me, would make her see me, right? And so that often relates to worthiness and wanting to feel, for me, it was like wanting to feel like I mattered. And there's this feeling underneath that of like not being good enough and this need to prove oneself. And so what happens when you're trying to always be good enough or prove yourself, you end up obsessing about perfection and making the right decision. And so a lot of the fears that go with this are about making a mistake, or if you do make a mistake or you're not perfect or you're not good enough and you're not proving yourself, then you'll be rejected. And so what ends up happening for this perfectionist is that because they are so worried about making a mistake and not being good enough, they oftentimes will procrastinate. The thing about a perfectionist, though, I got to say this, is that a perfectionist's good is a lot of people's great. So when you look at this person who has this kind of unhealthy goal habit, they actually achieve quite a lot. And from the outside looking in, people think they actually really have it together. But on the inside, they feel like they're a duck that is paddling for its life underneath the water, but they're like gliding along. And they suffer because like they don't feel the success that other people are perceiving in them. And so they'll oftentimes procrastinate until it gets to the point where the pressure to make a decision and get things done is greater than the fear of making a mistake or making a wrong decision. And so they'll put off everything till the last minute, and then they'll pull out these last minute wins that are pretty good. But in their mind, they know they could have done better had they had more time. And in their mind, a lot of times, nothing honestly is ever really finished because they have so much on their plate. They say they do get into a lot of people pleasing as well. And so they have so much on their plate and they're trying to make so many people happy and live up to everybody else's expectations that they actually have a hard time completing things. And so when they have a goal and they maybe go after it, they usually fall just a teeny bit short because they haven't left themselves enough time and made decisions fast enough for them to actually have the space to hit that goal. And then they exhaust themselves in the process of pulling off that last minute win. And so they're very slow. They can be slow to get back up on the horse because their body needs time to recover from the stress that they put on themselves in that process of trying to go after that goal. The third unhealthy goal habit I see is a result of the first two. And that's the person that resists setting goals altogether, right? And I mentioned that as well in my story, that I went through a period of time where it's like, I'm not setting goals. I'm just not doing it. I don't want to feel that. It's not good. And so underneath this resistance to setting goals, well, first of all, I always know when I get a client in, one of the first things that we do in my program when I'm coaching someone is we look at your vision and we get really clear on specifically what is important to you and what's the timeline for you for achieving those. Because we all have a tolerance level of how long we're willing to wait for things to come to us, right? We all have I'd be okay if it took me a year to achieve this, or I'd be really irritated if it took me longer than a year, or I'd be really irritated if I'm living still without this 5 years from now. And so we get really clear on what's really important to you. And then how long are you willing to work for this thing to happen? And that helps us to set your priorities and what's truly important about your vision and what you want to have in your life. And then from there, we dial it back to what's the thing you need to focus on right now so that achieving all these goals and making all of these things happen is going to be faster and easier, right? Sometimes I've heard it called different things from different people, but it's really just getting you singularly focused. Now, what I find in my coaching is that the thing we get singularly focused on is often the thing we're most avoiding because there's something about that thing that feels unsafe, that feels scary. And so when we start to do this process with someone and they get triggered, they're like, I don't want to set a goal. Like, how would I know if I could achieve that in the time frame that you're talking about? Or what if I don't achieve it, right? They get really amped up around this thought of having to commit to a goal. And the word commit even makes them like very unsettled. And so what happens for these individuals who are in this space where they're very resistant to setting goals because of the experience that they've had with setting goals and trying to reach them at all costs or coming up short and how that's made them feel and the self-esteem, how that's rocked their self-esteem. They're just like, I don't want to feel that. I don't want to feel disappointed. I don't want to feel uncomfortable. And so I'm just not going to set goals. And then I can't be disappointed and I can't be uncomfortable. And they also play smaller than they're capable of. These are often high performers that are extraordinary people capable of incredible things. And they're very inspiring. Like they have so much untapped potential, but because they won't commit to something and just go for it full force, they underperform. And so they'll also even like get rid of things they thought they wanted, even though they might still want them. They've just decided like, it's not worth it to me. And I'm venturing to say, well, what if it could be both? What if you could achieve that goal and have those things or live the life that you choose to live, where your passion and your purpose and prosperity are all in alignment, and it doesn't have to weigh on you. It doesn't have to sacrifice your family. It doesn't have to sacrifice your body. But they're like, I can't see how that could be possible. I've tried it. It doesn't work. And so they really have hit a plateau. And in all of these cases, these are all plateaus, essentially, because if you were given the business that you truly desired and everything worked out perfectly, like just as far as the business came easy, in all likelihood, you probably aren't the leader yet that could handle it. It takes a lot of personal development and reflection and transforming your mind and developing leadership skills. And I don't mean like leadership, like hierarchy, like corporate. I mean leadership, like how you lead yourself, how you think through problems, the resilience, all the skills that you've developed to weather hard times, right? If you were just given the business that you desire, you wouldn't be able to handle it. There's this whole process of molding you into this leader that can do and handle the level of success that you desire. And that's really what this is all about, is walking through and having these goals that are teaching us something, that are helping us see our weak points, that are helping us see where we need to hone our skills. They're helping us see what we need to learn. That's really the purpose of goals, not whether or not you're good or bad. And so the last one that I wanted to talk about was this idea of setting goals, but then changing direction or pivoting when it gets hard. This type of individual will oftentimes take a lot of courses. The other three will take courses too, because they're trying to plug some holes or they're trying to figure out how to hit their goals, usually by strategy, when really it's mindset. It's a transformation in their mind that needs to happen. But this person who sets goals and then change directions and pivots takes a lot of courses because they're trying to find the way. They know that they're meant for great things. They want to do incredible things in the world. And they're trying to find the way, but they're very resistant to feeling negative feelings. Like the fear for them is, if I feel a negative feeling, anger, like it feels hard. I feel sad, disappointed. They will pivot and go for something else that gives them that like feel good sensation. These people can oftentimes fall into that toxic positivity thing where they deny any kind of feelings that are negative. And again, I'm not saying this because I'm trying to make you feel bad about yourself. If you see yourself in this, I hope that it moves you into looking within and that you're not being redirected or pivoting because it's hard, but that you actually are capable of handling those emotions that don't feel great. They are there to show you something. They're there to teach you a lesson. Feelings are not negative or positive in any respect. They are flags to say, oh, I like this. This feels good. Oh, I don't like this. This doesn't feel good. And I need something else. Okay. And so sometimes when we look at maybe a goal that's hard for you to hit, it's more like, oh, I felt unsure of myself. I needed a stronger plan. Okay, so let's stay in the same direction. Let's keep going on this vision that you have, but let's put a better plan in place. So paying attention to what those feelings have or are trying to tell you is really important rather than denying that they're there. Like, nope, everything's great. I'm so excited about the future. They set goals, but then they go, oh, well, you know what? It wasn't meant for me. It never came together. So I just, went in this other direction. And you there's this lack of control, really. And so underneath it, if this person was to get really, really honest with themselves, there's this feeling of not being in control. It's a very disempowered way of being. And they may even feel very small and insignificant, like the universe has control over their outcomes and what's going to happen. And I do believe that in the spiritual side of things, that we are not alone in what we create. I absolutely feel like I am co-creating with God all the time. And my gifts are God working through me, right? And helping people to live their best lives and contribute in the most positive ways in the world and really to support humanity. And I truly believe that. But also I take action. And I think through things and I look at maybe what's logical in combination with intuition and things like that. And so if this person really took an ownership of their power, if they really became that powerful person and believed themselves to be able to create massive amounts of good in the world, that would be a game changer. Because really what's happening is sometimes they're confusing comfort zone and contentment with where you are, like being grateful for where you're at. That's wonderful. And that comfort zone with joy and fulfillment and like the ultimate goal, like the ultimate mission that they're here on. And so what ends up happening is because they're not putting that action and they're kind of just waiting for the vision to come to them and they're not putting in the action and the work that it takes to create that business, they oftentimes lack financial security because they're never going in one direction long enough to get real traction. And so it's really important for these individuals to put energy and effort into developing resilience and stamina, to be able to stick with a vision, stick with something for long enough to learn the things they need to learn, to become the leader they need to become in order to hold that vision. And to be able to withstand the disappointment and the struggles that sometimes come with building a business. So I wanted to go through those 4 with you just to recap. There's those that set the goals and achieve them at all costs. There's those that set goals based on the perceived and real expectations outside of yourself. Those that resist goals altogether as a result of the trauma of the first 2, and those that set goals and change direction and pivot when it gets hard. And so I hope out of today, you took from this some realizations around where you're looking at these goals in maybe an unhealthy way and it's creating some unhealthy habits. You're driving from a place of fear instead of a place of vision, and that you really take some time to think about how can you shift your relationship with your goals so that it supports your whole vision for your life and what you know you're here or meant to do in this world. So I would love to hear from you which of the goals you most related to, the unhealthy goal habits you related to. You can email me at hello@consciousedge.com. I'd love to hear from you, maybe what opened up for you around this goal setting and these unhealthy goal habits, and how you maybe plan to shift that going forward. And we work with our clients in the Exponential Entrepreneur on exactly this, is getting to the root cause of these behaviors and the reasons that you do them. I always tell people burnout does not come from the amount of things that you do. It comes from the reason that you do them. If you're doing things to please others, to feel good enough, to prove yourself, to make sure that you don't lose it all, or you're afraid that you're going to fail, or you're going to make a mistake or get rejected, all of those reasons that you do the behaviors you do, that's what leads to burnout. Recently, I just finished up a summit and I launched this podcast. I was there for my family. I showed up for my husband. I hit that place where I'm doing things that are on mission. And if they're not on mission, I'm not doing them. And so I was doing a lot of things, but never in my mind did I think I feel burned out. I felt inspired and excited to connect with people. I felt like I was making a difference in the world. I felt so fulfilled that even though I didn't have time for other things, there was, a lot of behaviors and things that we do that maybe are time wasters. I didn't have time for time wasters, and I slept so hard because I was tired. Being tired is different than being burned out. Being tired is just your body's need to rest and recover. Being burned out is you sleep, but you still don't feel rested and recovered. So I hope that this helps give you some clarity around where your goals might be going off track and what you want to do to shift them and maybe get underneath, why do I do the things that I do? Next week, I'm going to be going into the exercises and strategies that we use to get to the root cause of self-sabotaging behavior and how that relates to our goals. So make sure you tune in for next week. Make sure you subscribe and tune in next week to catch that. All right. I'm sending you so much love. Thanks for listening to the Conscious Edge podcast. Make sure you subscribe and take a moment to be kind and share this episode with someone you care about. Leave a review to help us bring more compassionate leaders building businesses and creating wealth to the table. And for show notes, head over to consciousedge.com/podcast. This podcast and the linked materials are presented solely for general information, educational, and entertainment purposes and should not be taken as personal or medical advice or any kind of mental health treatment. Please consult a medical or mental health professional if you feel you need such services. Please be advised that all investing and entrepreneurial endeavors involve risk, and the use of the education and information on this podcast and linked materials is at the user's own risk.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM, women's voices amplified.